Rishi to come forward and commence the proceeding of the next session. This session is being chaired by General Anil Kapoor. Come on.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to Mr. Sovle and the UTA panel for an excellent session. Congratulations to all our new strategic partners for the MOU. Thank you, President Brigadier Sandeep and Group Captain. And now this session, I'd like to commence the session. I would now request our Chair, Lieutenant General Anil Kapoor, sir, to please proceed to the dais. Thank you, sir. I'd also have to invite our panelists. I would request Major General Ravi Murugan, General Officer Commanding Karnataka and Kerala Sub-Area, sir, to please proceed to the dais. Thank you. The next speaker is a young and dynamic tech entrepreneur, Mr. Bhanu Pratap Singh. Would you please come to the dais? Bhanu Pratap Singh, please proceed. Thank you. A very important part is the involvement of private players. Mr. Kumar Gangwani of BDB AI. Sir, please come to the stage if you're here. Mr. Gangwani. Mr. Kiran Zakaria, Vice President of Sectrio. Sir, please come to the stage. You need one more. Mr. Gangwani. Sir, and finally, our new strategic partner, Colonel Selva. Sir, please come to the stage. One more chair. The same. Okay, with that, thank you. I'll just make a brief introduction to our chair. Lieutenant General Anil Kapoor is a member of the IIRF India Advisory Board. He is a Director General of Electrical and Mechanical Engineers of the Indian Army. He has led large-scale technology, ICT, AI, Combat Force Regeneration, MRO and Life Cycle Sustenance Program. Post-retirement, he continues in shaping technical minds for the future. Currently, he is a professor of practice at the Institute of Technology at Tirupati in the neighboring state of Andhra Pradesh. Sir, Lieutenant General, sir, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishi. It's indeed a privilege to be standing here on a very momentous occasion of a conclave, a defense conclave with the IIRF in the lead and the World Trade Center UTA in collaboration. I think some very exciting times from the morning, and the excitement continues. Okay, so without much ado, maybe move ahead, please. Our session is going to be about initiative of critical and emerging technologies. What are the opportunities? And we're looking at the complete roadmap from deliverables to deliveries. And I have a very impressive panel with me. Each panelist worth their weight in gold. Only thing is, most are not heavyweights, but cerebrally, I think they are so. Please move to the next one. Let me start. Oh, I've got technology in my hand. Okay, right. I go back. Okay, let me start with a story. Story number one, called Think Big. Way back in 1983, India was getting digital. We were the first ones amongst the few nations to have launched the satellite launch vehicle, and we graduated to something called the Indian Integrated Guided Missiles Development Program. And we had envisioned 5 missiles, anti-tank missile called Nag, 2 surface-to-air missiles, Akash and Trishul, surface-to-surface missile Prithvi, and a technology demonstrator in something that we call the ICBM today, Agni. So these were the 5 programs, and I'm talking of 1983. Come 1987, MTCR, the Missile Technology Control Regime, got slapped on the world, and we were the most affected. It was my privilege to get associated with this program in 1989, not very far from the MTCR times. And while we were all flagellating to find our feet in the program to make it happen, I think it was a golden opportunity. We prodded our way through using the power of technology then, the power of innovation that India is so proud of. We called it Jugaad then, we call it Jugaad today. And this word, fortunately, has even figured in the Oxford Dictionary. And it means innovation, right from the grassroots innovation through till the strategic innovation. So that's the spirit of innovation in India, and that's also the spirit of technology in India. And lo and behold, in 1993, we did the first successful test trial for inducting Prithvi into the armed forces. Agni was successful thereafter as a technology demonstrator, and then a series of Agnis have come about. Akash was a success, Nag was a success, and so was Trishul, and all because of the acumen, technological acumen that exists in our research and development, that exists in our academia, and that exists in our industry. And today we have some great captains of industry here and their representatives who during the day will tell you some of these stories as to how they achieved it. So really speaking, I think it's a great moment today when we talk about ICET opportunities. We are also in the throes when the world is looking at US for sure, competing with China in what we call the Cold War 2.0, if I got it right. And India is in the throes of becoming a superb power, not superb power. Because today, when we look at ourselves, we had, after this missile program became a success, we had Russia joining us in something called BrahMos. It was an initiative, joint initiative, India-Russia. Israel joined us in something called MR-SAMS. And who knows, David mentioned about the ICBM program. We may have the next one at Utah, and we're looking at it with huge interest. And therefore, what I learned out of this program, my association over 4 years, was that think big, fail fast, recover faster. I think that is very important to make things happen. Second, research and design is not by transfer of technology. Let's not get it wrong. It's by doing, it's by committing, it's by failing, and it's by recovering fast. And therefore, development, when we look at, it's a huge transition. Success comes when you go beyond failure, and that's what we learned out of this experiment. And the last is collaboration. International collaboration helps, and not only international collaboration. When we look at this term called international collaboration, it is at all levels. It's at academia levels, it's at industry levels, it's at government levels. It's a whole of nation approach. And I think this example tells us a lot of stories. It's a case study in itself. And anybody who did it would definitely succeed. This is a design thinker world. Okay, that said, let me quickly walk ahead. This technology, okay, good. The governor, former governor mentioned, start with the end in mind. I did not know whether he had seen my slide or how did it happen, but it does happen there. Now, when we look at this collaboration, how to take it forward, I think there are 3 very important pillars that we have to look at. The first pillar, when we say ICET opportunities, comprises 3 things. The first is a product lens. We all have to look at a product lens. How can we do anything without a product? And we have Aaron here, who's 47G, the big players, big ticket players in defense, I think products are very important to us. And when we say product, infrastructure must come up as a service. Without that, it cannot happen. And therefore, my panelists, I'll request you to focus on this thought as to how do you think this can happen. The second is skills. We are in a world where skill is the new collar. You need not be an engineer, but you can be an AI expert. You need not be an engineer, but you can be a quantum expert, provided you are willing to put on that skill. And therefore, I want to recall the engine. This is in the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where you find the who's who and the top line entrepreneurs, and I had a privilege of going there and meeting some of them, who actually are from very diverse backgrounds: architecture, social sciences, anthropology, engineering, doctors. But together they create the engine. They create the products which have a 360-degree view. I think we need to look at skills from that perspective. And the third is research, design, and development. And I think there is an opportunity here, right from academia through to industry and beyond. And we look at joint R&D and integrated R&D as a catalytic transformation when we go ahead in this journey. So I think the product lens would perhaps be absolutely important when we look at this. Next is programs. We have to look at a technology strategy. What is our Indo-US technology strategy? Because when you look at future, you have to look at the technology management of the future. Technology today is on a gallop. And when it is on a gallop, remember that obsolescence, upgrades, and infusion, the life is going to be very interesting. And unless we have a handle over it through a management structure, through a management policy, it may not happen. So really speaking, that's the first big ticket. The second is collaboration. Today, there's a great opportunity to collaborate with industry and see the intrinsic and the extrinsic powers. Today, most of our industry is abroad. We are not only exporting, we are also creating and recreating the future in so many nations. I think we'll need to look at these collaborative structures. And if I may mention, I've written WTC, Industrial Corridors, and I've misspelled it partly because this corridor requires a lot of coordination. We have our own industrial corridors, we have our defense industrial corridors here in India. I think we need to coordinate this footprint as a two-way bridge. So I think this session is going to see how we can create those bridges. And then, of course, given the academy and entrepreneurship muscle that we have today in India, that's yet another great opportunity. We have the technology innovation hubs, 25 of them, which have come up in top of the line Indian Institutes of Technology. And I happen to be a board member in one of them at Tirupati, and I can tell you, it is cerebral. It's actionable cerebral movement that we are seeing in this technology innovation hubs. There's huge amount of energy in the youth. And when you look at them, you marvel them because you were not that when you were that age. I mean, I have the mayor of Utah sitting. We were not that at your age. I mean, you're really hitting it a big ticket. So really speaking, that is what we have to look at. And I'll talk of this Technology Innovation Hub a little later during the sessions. But today we have a large number of centers of excellence. We have a large number of startups, almost 110,000 startups registered in Startup India today. And what are they looking at? They are looking at the Indo-US bridge. That's the next bridge. Most engineers today who graduate in the country, they look at US as the next destination, as their first choice, and I think Utah is a great opportunity. And the last, of course, is the third bridge, where I request if you can please give it a little space so that they can see. I'm sorry. Yeah. And this bridge is perhaps the most important to make it happen. The drivers are, the first driver is looking at structures for ownership. There has to be ownership. This collaboration has to make sure that the way A owns it, B owns it in the similar fashion. So I think that will be very important. And today, some of these MOUs that have got signed a priori before the session, I think they are very important, and many more should flow forward to create a common ownership value addition. The next is, we look at a journey which starts with jointmanship, joint programs, to integrated programs. Now, when we say integrated, it builds interoperability. We are talking the same language. We are on the same platform. I think that is equally important when we look at the ESG, the environment, societal, and governance structures. I think that is a big ticket that we have to look at. That is how the policies will come up. And my last and most important point here is we should look at everything as a program. I started with the story of Indian Integrated Guided Missile Development Program. It started in '83. It continues 30 years down the line, only creating more and more wonders, only doing the technology walkthrough. I think we need to look at it, this approach together, to look at program submarine, program missiles, program quantum, program communication, and so many more. Okay, so really speaking, that will be a great way forward. Now, when we look at the stacks of the future, there is a huge change happening today. Firepower, as an example, was a dominant vector and continues to be so. But in times to come, when data and space kick in, the dominant vector will be information. And today, data or information, which is the support vector, would actually become the dominant vector. So we'll have to look at the complete spectrum of dominant and support vectors, how they are changing, what are the dynamics. Now today, as India, you've been hearing since morning, our digital public infrastructure, our digital story is a huge, huge success. The world is learning out of it. I think that stack which we are very familiar with is in the red. The geospatial technologies, big data analytics, and we have Kumar who will be talking about it. Artificial intelligence as a service, and I say again, if US and China are considered AI superpowers, we are the superpower. We are also in the sweet spot. And if somebody read a news item in the morning today, in one of these seminars, somebody said 2030, India will be a super, the B will get dropped. It'll be a superpower in AI. So really speaking, that is the transition, how we look at ourselves in 7 years. And then we have something called multi-platform, multi-sensor data fusion, as the platforms and sensors keep increasing in all 5 domains, and I'll mention them, land, air, sea, space, and cyber. I think this is going to become a big game changer. We have to look at this technology. And then, of course, the stack, which is the future, is the quantum stack, the material stack. And when we look at the application layer, which will be of interest to everybody here, we are looking at swarms. We are looking at loiter ammunition. We all know what has happened or what is happening in Ukraine, Russia, and while information is information, some amount is disinformation. We are told that only 30 to 40% of total ammunition fired has actually hit the targets. 60 to 70% is gone waste. If that is true, I think terminal guidance and loiter ammunition will be very important to get the bang for the buck. Chip design, you would have been reading the news. Yesterday was a great day. 3 manufacturing units have been, one is Tata's and 2 more, have been put together, and maybe Janal Sani will talk about it a little bit. And when we look at software on chip, software on platform, electronics manufacturing, space, situational awareness, space domain awareness, energy renewables, hypersonics, and of course, our hybrid engine. I think this is where a lot of opportunity lies. So with that as a start, I will now get to the panel. This is the kind of landscape we look at. Today, nobody needs to go on ground. Sitting in Utah, you should be able to see what is happening in the industries in India. And sitting in India, we should know what is happening in industries in Utah. And that kind of a platform, which I call C7 ISR, command, control, communication, cybertronics, computers, cognition, combat. That is what it is all about. And I'm sure what is written is all comprehensible and you would absorb it. And with that, I'll now request General Ravi Murugan to come and say his piece. And before he did that, let me talk of three terms which are very, very important these days and talked of. The first is geostrategy. The second is geopolitics. The third is geoeconomy. I think through this forum and through this conclave, we can roll this into one and come up with a common program to meet the future aspirations in geostrategy, geopolitics, and geoeconomy. Thank you.
As the senior Moltke, the famous German general said, no plan survives contact with the enemy. So we have had one success here. We beat the Bangalore traffic, and me and my officers are here in time. So, that success breeds success. So we hope to take this forward. So firstly, General Kapoor, distinguished panelists, the team from the IIRF, General Krishnan, General Sani, Colonel Madhavan, Brigadier Sandeep, then our guests from the beautiful state of Utah, ladies and gentlemen who are present here, good afternoon and Jai Hind. It's really a pleasure for me to be present here to interact with you on the issues of military technology in the Indian context. And firstly, a disclaimer, I'm here in my personal capacity. I'm a serving Indian Army officer. I'm not representing any government view. I'm not representing a military view. I'm purely on a personal capacity, and these are all my personal views. And I also am not an expert. I go by the figures which say that expert predictions are proven wrong 99% of times. So the expert estimates and predictions generally come true about 1%. So I'm not an expert, so I will give you a user perspective. So firstly, I start with the fact that conventional conflicts are here to stay. Sometime at the end of the 20th century, then now as we progressed in the initial part of the 21st, the conventional wisdom was that near-peer conventional conflicts itself, there has been a decline. The figures don't prove that. Conventional conflicts continue as before. Possibly near-peer conventional state versus state conventional conflicts may have shown a degree of decline. So a strong and capable military for any nation is a sine qua non for territorial sovereignty, as also for national security. And as everybody here knows, comprehensive national power is one of the estimates through which we measure the strength of a nation. And generally, the traditional acronym which defines comprehensive national power is the DIME acronym, diplomacy, information, military, and economic. But to my mind, in the information age, and therefore the changes which we are seeing today in the battlefields and the weapon systems which are being used, the need for including technology, and is now being included also in many thought processes, many publications, technology has become probably the most important part of comprehensive national power. Technology leads to technology independence leads to strategic autonomy, and therefore today's this session's topic, deliverables to deliveries, in that context is extremely important. In the Indian landscape, it's been an evolving landscape. For decades prior, we have been importing our defense needs from various countries. However, in the past few years, there has been a revolutionary change in the landscape. This has taken the form of the Indian government's push for Make in India or the Atmanirbharta, as also the change in the defense acquisition policies and the regulations which govern that have seen sweeping tweaking or changes which have tried to promote growth in indigenous technology and indigenous manufacture. And in this context, I would say that private sector, especially private sector which is present here, plays an extremely important role. And the reason I say that is, when you look at the development in technology which has happened in the industrial age, a lot of times this has been driven through R&D in military domains. If I recollect correctly, in the years prior, the US R&D in defense itself used to be about $100 billion annually. The change in the information age, to my mind, has been, so therefore the defense was a primary stakeholder in it. So defense technology developed would then multiply into multiple commercial uses. But ultimately, defense R&D was the driver. But now in the information age, with the new age technologies which are coming in, the statistics say 70% of R&D is being driven by non-defense R&D firms. And therefore, defense now is a buyer of this technology. And therefore, the criticality of the private sector present here. So having a strong private indigenous capability leads to a strong military capability. And therefore, having a strong technology independence in a country leads to a strong national security paradigm. So keeping that in mind, from a war-fighting perspective, if you ask me, the technology which any defense force looks at, and I speak primarily for the land forces, is in two categories. It could be evolutionary technology, and the second one is revolutionary technology. And when you say how battles are still being fought, especially in the land domain, 70 to 80% of your systems are legacy systems. And these legacy systems are being doped with technology to make them relevant, current, and to impact their capabilities on the battlefield for the desired effect. So if you, and along with this, you have some amount of revolutionary, and these evolutionary capabilities give you incremental edges. It is not giving you a total combat superiority over an enemy, because when you are, especially so when you're fighting with near peer adversaries, the systems which are competing are distinguished in terms of capability by small margins. But these small margins multiply, and that leads to some amount of superiority on the battlefield outcomes. And these, alongside, then you have revolutionary technologies, some of which are already widespread, and as General Kapoor alluded to, precision targeting has been there for decades now. So this is one of the information technologies which has made its presence felt in the battlefield. And you have some technologies which have the potential of changing the paradigm in the battlefield. AI, EW, robotics, unmanned systems. So these are revolutionary technologies. So as far as the Indian context goes, my personal view is our focus has to be first on the evolutionary technologies and manufacturing. I mean, the audience here, majority of you are from the the information age, new age technologies, at least from what I see from the Indian firms. But when bulk of the fighting is being done by legacy systems, and legacy systems which have been value added by new age technologies, then the bulk of the effort needs to right now go into your legacy systems which have been made far more effective and far more potent on the battlefield. So if you ask me whether, what kind of balance do we draw in this, defense research and innovation, at least in the initial stages to my mind, needs to primarily focus in traditional systems. It could be metallurgy, power packs, ammunition technology, optics, combat networks, swap challenges. While simultaneously we need to invest in revolutionary technologies which are going to probably change the paradigm of warfighting. Now, as a rough estimate, I'm sticking my neck out and giving figures. So, as a rough estimate, 75% of effort, and let me say 60% of funding, needs to be towards legacy systems even today. By legacy systems, it is not that we are going to be fighting the war as we fought in Second World War. It is you're using virtually similar systems, but which are generations apart from what was used before by virtue of the technology which gets added to it. But this is growing incrementally. And 25% of the effort and 40% of the funds probably needs to go towards the niche technology domains. Now, this is where the delineation between domains of PSUs, that is from the Indian context, the public sector undertakings, the private sector, and the academia needs to get aligned. Now, bulk of the heavy lifting for niche technologies needs to be done by academia and the private industry combined. So, the niche technologies, as you have, I had covered earlier, is generally fungible. It has got dual use. So it makes commercial sense for the private sector to get into these niche technologies because you are not dependent only on military usage of that. So once the technologies are fungible, the economic sense gets germinated. And therefore, you don't wait for centralized funding to support those efforts. So the need to indigenize from an economic and strategic standpoint has never been apparent, as we see today. And fortunately, a seismic shift has already occurred in the Indian indigenous defense landscape, and the government has taken several policy initiatives in the past few years and brought in reforms to encourage indigenous design, development, and manufacture. Now, in the Indian context, from the land systems context, the evolution of technology takes place in two ways. One is, of course, the import of high-value systems with the clause of full technology transfer, and this can be termed as the buy global, make in India. This comes with the complexity of our ability to absorb that technology. When you want to manufacture a system whose several generations in technology beyond what is currently being produced or being used, the ancillary systems to support that manufacture take a lot of time to develop. So transfer of technology in its entirety and its absorption, even for a user, is a big issue. So all this has a gestation period, it has time. These are all needs to be graduated. So this is the first way where we get technology which comes into the country in terms of military technology, and the other way, of course, is to germinate your own. And this leads to, of course, germinating your own technology in any of these systems leads to growth of capacities, including ancillary growth of industries. But this has long and rocky gestation periods, and from a user perspective, there are some issues in this, especially the homegrown technologies. The first one is, as a user, is the unrealistic timelines. The systems which are required are for today's conflicts or today's potential conflicts. So that is where the whole, the priority for legacy systems comes back. So if you require to have systems to fight today, you cannot wait for 10 years for a homegrown, germinated solution. So per force, you need to acquire that, and you have to acquire that from global markets and then try to absorb it and then try to generate indigenous growth. So that is the first problem the user faces, is unrealistic timelines. We may want to buy indigenous, we may want to use indigenous, but indigenous is not existing. So if it is not existing and you require it for present conflicts or potential present conflict, so you would need to have that. The other aspect which is probably controversial is the quality and dependability aspect, because as in all greenfield technology growths, there is always an aspect of quality issues. And quality issues leads to reliability issues and credibility issues. Now the user becomes sensitive to the fact that do we use this system, because he doesn't have the luxury of timelines to grow stability. So homegrown absorption stroke homegrown germinated technology has to be proved reliable from the first iteration itself. Because from a war-fighting perspective, you don't have that luxury to grow it and to stabilize it. You can evolve it to higher technology levels, but the existing one has to be reliable. And these are on some of the brick and mortar domains. It could be, metallurgy, for example. If your tank barrel shears by firing of, let's say, 10 rounds, then there is an issue of reliability of that weapon system. So these are issues which are, two very broad issues which I said that the user faces. So, I have 10 minutes, so I think I've crossed it. So let me quickly highlight my assessment of the way forward for indigenous growth of technology. The first and foremost, of course, is the collaboration between, I adequately covered earlier also, between the government, defense forces, public and the private sector. The government's role needs to extend beyond policy formulation. It has to create a conducive environment for private industry participation through incentives, funding and streamlined regulations. The defense forces play a pivotal role because a lot of times the fault lies with us. We frame qualitative requirements, general staff qualitative requirements, which are absolutely impractical. We want a system which has not been made. And when you seek a system which has not been made, that system never gets made. So that we have now, we are far more practical now. Our GSQRs are pitched to the existing technology and we are leaving a gap for growth. And we are allowing that system to mature over time and we are allowing that system to be developed over time. So we are accepting what is not optimal. We are accepting what is suboptimal today and we are hoping for optimal maybe a few years down the line. So the defense forces have also recalibrated their aspirations accordingly. The other issue is, of course, nurturing a vibrant ecosystem of small and medium enterprises. SMEs, as you're aware of, serve as a backbone of indigenous production. This brings agility, flexibility, niche capabilities to the table. Empowering these enterprises through capability building initiatives, access to finance and market linkages can catalyze innovation and create a diversified defense industrial base. Now, promoting exports, I read a figure, I'm not too sure whether that's true. 28-29, what is being viewed at is a defense industry in India, which is going to be touching 3 lakh crores. And the exports, I believe, is going to be about 50,000 crores. Now, that is the lifeblood of promoting innovation. And this is showcasing our capabilities of indigenous defense productions on the global stage. This not only enhances our geopolitical influence, but bolsters the economy. And there is need for user involvement. Now, this is something which is now taking place. The Navy and was, in fact, far ahead in this, but now the Army and the Air Force are following suit. That the user involvement in development of weapon systems, that is now getting systemized. It is now getting institutionalized, and hopefully that should bear dividends as we go ahead. Now, the thing for industry is they need to achieve standards of excellence and reliability on the so-called brick and mortar domains which we have seen. As I said, metallurgy, propellant consistency. A lot of times, a round which has to reach a certain range does not reach or fall short because it lacks the propellant consistency to propel it that far. And this happens so regularly that a lot of times you have to segregate huge categories of ammunition. So that impacts your capability to sustain any conflict. So the need for excellence and reliability in the basic building blocks is extremely critical. And technology in legacy systems, we cannot leapfrog it. It reminds me of this internet penetration. I read this again some time ago, that in the US, the internet came through landlines. So landlines were first accessible to everybody, and then they could access the internet through that. In India, as we are all aware, because most are from my contemporaries, that we had to wait in line for a landline. There were waiting lists to even get a landline when, in our youth. So we leapfrogged this landline requirement for internet when mobile technology came in. And so now, virtually anybody who has a mobile phone is now connected to the net. If we had to wait to provide landlines to everybody and then connect to the net, we would still be waiting. But in military technology, we can't leapfrog it. We will have to develop the competency and the excellence in legacy technologies. Unless we do that, the systems which we are operating, we will continue to be dependent on others. So, I have overshot my time, so I would like to finish here. I would only like to finish with that, the future is replete with opportunities, and I can only wish you the best that we are able to exploit these opportunities and develop those capacities and capabilities we require for a strong, independent military and, by extension, strategic autonomy. Thank you so much.
Hello, thank you very much, General, for the excellent talk. I think we're all glad to hear from a serving officer. I should mention here that General has served as the defense attaché in the Indian Embassy in Washington, D.C. So he's thoroughly familiar with the US. And in the latest Republic Day of 2024, he's been awarded the Param Vishish Seva Medal, India's highest peacetime gallantry award. A big hand for General Ravi Murugan, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. General Kapoor, Chair, sir, over to you. Thank you.
Right. That was very nice, General Ravi Murugan. In fact, we've been together in a UN assignment in Angola. And of course, when he was the defense attaché, we were very, very well integrated in sharing information. But I think what he said is very pertinent when we look at the future. I think opportunity beckons, as he's brought out. With this, we come to now a little more closer to technology. I think cyber security is on the center stage. And before we talked of data and data systems, first we should fix cyber security. We have with us young Bhanu Pratap Singh, who's come from a company called Signal Zero. And he's handling a product infinity. So 0 to infinity is his bandwidth. He's an expert in AI and cyber. Without much ado, I'll request Bhanu to tell us what are the opportunities you think of taking things forward collaboratively in AI and cyber. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to my fellow panelists and members of the audience. One of the points that General Kapoor sir raised, which I strongly agree with, that information warfare is on the rise. And with the times that we are living in, where we have cybersecurity, which has gone from defensive side of things to protect our interest, it has gone towards more on the offensive side. And that itself has become a business nowadays, where we have ransomware as a service, hackers for hire, threat actors working across the global landscape, just willing to do business with offensive security. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So I'd like to dedicate my time talking about how cybersecurity plays a cornerstone role in all the key objectives of this initiative. I'll just quickly establish the premise over each objective. Talking about high-performance computing and quantum computing, we're talking about large-scale data processing, sometimes sensitive, containing personally identifiable information, confidential information, trade secrets. So we need to worry about how we are handling data at rest and in transit, how it's properly being encrypted, and working towards quantum-safe encryption mechanisms. Talking about AI, AI nowadays is the talk of the town. And the models and the algorithms that are painstakingly designed and engineered by our researchers, industries, are susceptible to thefts, wherein the models can be directly stolen and replicated. Moreover, they're susceptible towards adversarial attacks for data poisoning in order to make these models malfunction. Now, when we're talking about integrating artificial intelligence in critical systems, this poses a larger scale threat. In defense innovation cooperation, DIU from DOD and IDEX from MOD has been doing some fantastic work towards recognizing what the mutual challenges that we are facing and how we need to safeguard ourselves against those in terms of defense. However, we are still susceptible towards military networks, defense networks, which handle trade secrets, strategies being hacked, infiltrated by advanced persistent threats, state-sponsored hackers for them to monitor and steal intelligence. Semiconductor ecosystem, there are some great steps that have been taken in this direction. However, one thing we need to consider is that these kind of ecosystems are definitely susceptible to production machines being compromised, as well as supply chain attacks where they compromise the integrity of the systems themselves. Space tech, NASA and ISRO has been doing some really great work. I think we have come up with really tangible solutions in really short frames of time. However, what we need to consider is that while the satellites are above us in the sky, in the space itself, our on-ground systems and mission-critical operations should be safeguarded against state-sponsored hackers. Everyone is really enthusiastic and interested with next-gen communications coming in with 5G, 6G research, as well as Open RAN networks deployments. But again, the cybersecurity perspective comes in that these systems are they are susceptible to line interception, unauthorized access of systems, as well as disruption in cases of critical emergencies. Touching upon the fact that government initiatives and bilateral agreements have been working in an out-of-scope manner to ensure that these work in collaboration and present some great innovation towards the earmarking of these fields. What we personally believe in defense, cybersecurity, AI-based startup field is that we need to work towards collaboration of researchers in academics, in industries, and in private agencies, more in order to bring about more comprehensive solutions, something that strengthens up the Indo-Pacific region and provides a resilient cybersecurity ecosystem. Indian cybersecurity startups, and for that matter AI startups as well, have become key players in the global market nowadays with their innovative solutions towards complex cybersecurity challenges. We have a deep pool of highly technical talent as well as enthusiastic entrepreneurial spirit that is bringing about cutting-edge technology. And they are not just catering to domestic needs anymore. They are making a mark and gaining traction and recognition in the global markets due to their quality solutions, which are really, really innovative, tackle highly complex situations, but are yet cost-effective. And while we're talking about collaboration between private agencies and startups and organizations, what we also need to consider is that our independent security researchers make up a large pool of this technical talent. And they have briefly, recently, and even before, they have ensured that we bring about secure solutions, finding out significant bugs, securing and enhancing security protocols, and bringing about technological advancements towards cybersecurity. What we need to understand is that we need to provide a platform to these independent security researchers as well, bring them on a central table, connect them with the industry, connect them with the academic researchers in order to bring about really innovative solutions as well. And what we can do to enhance and facilitate these sort of communications. We can create channels such as hackathons, conferences, networking dinners, and other data sharing platforms in order to ensure that there's free flow of information, cyber threat intelligence, and whatever latest developments that have been captured from such adversarial attacks. Every level of stakeholder involved within this dialogue would be benefiting from this. Breaking it down, academics will have quality peer reviews coming in from their counterparts in United States, state of Utah, and other universities. They'll have pooled joint research that brings about creative solutions. In terms of industries and startups, they'll be able to transform innovative research into tangible solutions faster, and will be able to pool their knowledge to bring about more comprehensive solution. And talking about the government agencies, they'll be able to monitor how the processes of this collaboration are moving forth and what's the quality of the output that's coming in. And again, take over a major responsibility of ensuring if any modifications are to be made to the legal frameworks towards facilitating this information sharing, such as intellectual property regulations, how we can bring about relaxation and modifications of these frameworks to ensure collaboration. Now, when we are talking about collaboration, we are talking about a concerted efforts between all the academics, the industry, and the government. And when then there's concerted effort, when everyone is on the same page and there's a mutual understanding, we can talk about establishing certain norms, certain standards, and certain good practices that are to be practiced in the region. And with these, we'll be able to provide a stable, resilient cybersecurity implementations in products in terms of services, which would in turn allow growth of industries across all fields, not just cybersecurity. We'll be able to establish countermeasures that will build up together on how to face these state adversary hackers and advanced persistent threats. We'll be able to work towards countering these threats, incident response in terms of critical incidents, and working out towards sharing threat intelligence on how to counter against such attacks in the future. One of the examples that I would like to share is back in November 2023, when there's a popular ransomware as a service group called Logbit. They compromised National Aeronautics Laboratories in the mid of November. And by the end of November, they were able to compromise Boeing. Now, the payloads and the attack methodologies used were the exact same. And this is a perfect example of how sharing of cyber threat intelligence and concerted cyber incident response services would work out very well in the favor of everyone, and thus contribute towards a stronger Indo-Pacific region that's resilient, that's continuously evolving, and that's working out well towards security in terms of innovation. Talking about opportunities with Utah, there was a point that Mr. Miller raised that I, again, strongly agree with, and it resonated with me. It was about expanding and exploring larger markets. Now, the defense and the talent in India is pretty much hungry and has been establishing new measures and new heights of cybersecurity in terms of innovation. Access to larger markets, more free flow of information would provide us better opportunities in terms of growth, in terms of advancement of technology, and of course better revenues would pool in a lot of more money that would allow research and development to go forth and keep countering such adversarial threats. Apart from that, coming into the AI domain of the talk, earlier we talked about security for ML, which is popularly known as Sec for ML. Discussing ML for Sec, which is machine learning for security, is a whole another factor, wherein we utilize advanced machine learning algorithms in order to enhance security. Talking about core technicals, there are fields such as reverse engineering, there are fields such as SOC analysis, there are fields such as countering malwares, which would largely benefit from using artificial intelligence. We have tangible solutions already in the market, but again, they're not effective because they're easily bypassed by these adversarial nations. And a pool of knowledge, sharing of research, and coming together in order to build such tangible solutions would work out very well in favor of cybersecurity. That's my time. Thank you.
Bhanu, that was a 10-minute packet. Very technical, I think very wholesome as well. Good, very nice hearing your views. Now, he's from a lab called Saptang Labs, and though it is Signal Zero and Product Infinity, the lab would be very keen to integrate and find a place in Utah. They're very keen. In fact, Mr. Sai Krishna is the CEO and founder, not been able to come, but he's conveyed to me a message that they are looking forward to this, right? That said, I think what he's brought out is very relevant. When we look at the digital world and algorithms is about mathematics. And when we look at the quantum world, it is about physics. And quantum physics beats mathematics. That's the beauty. So really speaking, when we look at a cyber threat from a quantum perspective, anything that gets delivered in the digital world, quantum will beat it. And that's where the future lies. And I think Saptang Labs is doing a lot of work in how to look at robust quantum solutions in the digital world. Right. That said, now I'll invite Mr. Kumar Gangwani, Vice President, BDB.ai. They are again a huge startup who actually look at information system platform. They look at life as a platform which is versatile to handle big data analytics. We can talk of sustainment development goals. We can talk of geospatial data. We can talk of any database. They are the ones who convert your database into intelligent, actionable decision support system. So without much ado, I'll request Mr. Kumar Gangwani to come up here. A word about their institution. It's a great institution. IITians of 1995 batch have got together to create this. So it's cerebrally heavy, but at the same time, very, very futuristic in its approach to life and approach to technology. Over to you.
Thank you, Lieutenant General Kapoor, for this opportunity, and I'm very happy to be here today. I think I'll focus on perhaps a couple specific themes. One, I think, around the need for having a more unified data management platform and infrastructure for future AI and data requirements, and then touch a little bit upon our involvement with various areas of e-governance, maybe smart cities and defense, where we may have been involved in recent years. So my name's Kumar Gangwani. I've been in the technology business for, I'd say, give or take about 28 years. And the last 14 or so have been in the emerging technologies of machine learning, data engineering, data science. Prior to coming to BDB, I've held roles where I've been responsible for building data practices at some leading services companies, and also attempting to build products, but not being able to do so in the data world, given the complexities involved. So what BDB is essentially a comprehensive, end-to-end, unified platform that addresses many, many challenges that modern data requirements create. From ingesting data, which is perpetually growing, so we call that data volumes that are exploding, to issues around data quality, which become very, very challenging when you have unreliable streams of data or inconsistent data that is coming to you, and you're expected to suddenly make intelligent decisions with that. To then sort of managing all of this, preparing and cleaning up this data, touching a little bit upon also the security and the governance aspects of that, the data, and then building various levels of intelligence, right? So running your machine learning and data science models, and finally getting insights and various sort of views into your operational dashboards and the like, right? That's a whole spectrum of many things, data that you require, whether you're in defense, infrastructure, connected auto, telecom, doesn't matter. So it's not something that a group of 5 or 10 people can easily build or do in a seamless manner. We as a company spent about 800 man-years building this platform. All of us here came with very deep backgrounds in both enterprise software and data and business intelligence. And we saw the whole paradigm change after processing became cheaper, storage became cheaper, and compute became faster. We were able to start building and putting this together. So I'll take you a little bit through what our real USP is, showcase maybe very briefly what we've done in some industries, and then touch a little bit upon some themes of interest to this audience. So any enterprise in any company would today struggle with all the issues that I talk about, and trying to solve them with some homegrown tools or point solutions or framework is something that most companies see are not working very well for them anymore, right? The market is filled with a huge number of companies and products in this space, but beyond a certain point and few use cases and some businesses that they can support, they really start struggling quite a bit. Oh, sorry. And so you really need a bit of a unified approach to addressing all these challenges together. We are sort of one of the very few platforms in the market that is really end-to-end unified, that is solving all these data challenges today. I thought I'd take this time to introduce ourselves to you if you've not heard of us before. What we really offer, because we've been able to unify this approach and do it in a very efficient, systematic manner, well, number one, we are able to operationalize and commercialize these various data challenges for you often 4 to 5 times faster than what many of the larger commercial players can do. Right, so I'm talking about some really, really prominent hyperscaler cloud companies out of Seattle and Silicon Valley, and also other players like Snowflake, Databricks, etc. Right, so we compete with many of them, and we are able to execute things for you a lot faster. Also, because we invested in building this platform in India, our cost of doing so were obviously lower. We are able to hand over that advantage onto our customers by being a lot less pricey, so to speak, for our licenses, and also work with companies to really optimize the cost of operations related to analytics itself, right? So we are talking about many aspects there, not just the cost of the license, but the underlying server infrastructure, your cost of the resources that are going to help you build the use cases and manage them, the support teams, and the training to manage the data infrastructure. So we help you optimize many categories of your data expenses and hence lower your costs in what is commonly referred in our business as total cost of operations. And we've done this time and again for some of the world's largest automotive and telecom companies already, and can essentially do this for other businesses as well. I won't spend too much time on a very techy-looking slide, but essentially the platform is able to ingest data from multiple different source systems, whether it is real-time or batch. We have the ability to then enrich, clean that, and also enrich this. It can be saved in the lake of your choice. You have the opportunity to then run various data science, ML, and AI models, what you prefer. Automate those once you're comfortable with how the output looks like, and the ability to then visualize this in form of dashboards and receive these in various form factors, right? Whether it's on a mobile device, tablet, laptop, or whatever else you care to see this on. I think I'll skip this slide. I've spoken about it a little bit. So yeah, very briefly, we've had quite a lot of customers in the US and Canada. We've been present in many industry verticals, and there are many companies, and system integrators in particular, who are also white labeling our offerings today for providing solutions in this space to our customers. And we connect with at least over 90 different systems today. Yeah. So we work with at least about a dozen or so Fortune 500 customers, and quite a lot of other companies across industry verticals. Education, connected auto, and telecom are particularly big for us, but since the last year or so, we are focusing pretty heavily on defense, I'd say Industry 4.0, and smart cities being an extension of that, and banking, financial services as newer verticals. In the first few years of our existence itself, we got a Gartner recognition as one of the more prominent companies in the top 100 global companies in the data space itself, and so that was very, very encouraging to receive. I'll just very briefly just show you a few dashboards of what we've been able to build in different industry verticals, and then kind of touch a little bit more upon e-governance, smart cities, and defense. So in the connected auto space, one of the second largest automotive companies globally is a customer of ours across Europe. And there is quite a lot of work we've done across possible scenarios from driver behavior, fuel efficiency, safety, insurance, fleet analytics, and many, many possibilities. I think we did about 24 commercial use cases for them in the first year of involvement ourselves, and brought to them pretty sizable savings actually. The order about just, I'd say about $8 million in just one use case itself. So they are very happy with us. This is a dashboard from the telecom space. So I'd say about, we have very good footprint in Africa, some in Europe, and a little bit in North America, working with some very, very prominent global telecom operators, and we do quite a lot of analytics for them around customer churn, customer 360, identifying best bundled offers for them, and suggesting various approaches so they can reduce churn in their customer base, to just give you an idea of some possibilities. Some of our work in food retail for American companies here, sorry, it's not very visible, but I think what you can sense is that there is a tremendous diversity of what is possible on the platform, both for different industry verticals and also what you can really start seeing in terms of your operational KPIs for your business. Another thing we did for a large Indian retailer, to help them with sort of their inventory planning and forecasting and things like that. And yeah, I think we have worked across many industry verticals, but the possibilities, of course, are a lot more. I think I'll move to some industry verticals which may be a little bit more relevant for the audience here. So going back to 2016, this was my first time sort of getting involved in a government-wide e-governance program. This was with the AP government, which now I think has been split into AP and Telangana since. And what was the desire of that government and their technology services arm was to really help them improve the governance across the state, make it more efficient and transparent, and give their citizens a lot more services that were not existing. So for those who've not been involved in these proposals, it was actually one of the largest proposals I worked on, not necessarily in amount, but the effort involved in putting this together. It was a team of almost 50 people working over 3 months to just document a proposal, right? And it was a multi-year engagement working with them. In those days, I was with a different service provider, and this was in partnership with Oracle's data platform. But if you really think about it, the government's vision was quite wonderful, and it was their desire to be able to see the breadth and depth of what was happening in their administered regions, with understanding of weather patterns and its implication on certain areas, predicting drought and famine type situations, being able to identify citizens who were sort of financially challenged, and being able to see if the social programs being run for them were actually effective. They wanted to see infant mortality and other child welfare norms by the different districts and at village levels, and see where more intervention was required. They wanted to understand the power consumption by different cities and districts. How was it mapping to the generation? What was the short supplies? And how had the measures to reduce the gap been effective or not, right? And how was citizen services in general being run, and what could be digitized? And which districts had better municipal tax collection versus not, and what could be done. So you can understand that this is not only useful for politicians, but also for the actual people running the government, and the benefits for the actual people on the ground are quite immense once these things start getting into place, right? So that was my experience with e-governance. I've also had the opportunity to participate in a proposal for a very prominent smart city that's upcoming in the Middle East as we speak. And these things are, I think, beyond doubt, very complex and involved. Not only is it just billions of, again, dollars of investment, I think these days, I think that number seems very easy to do for many people, but the effort, the complexity, and the number of service vendors and hardware providers that need to be involved in building something like that is pretty huge. And so we were asked to be the technology provider specifically around the AI and data for something like this. So if you can think of a city, there is at least about 54 different assets that exist, right from gas and cooling to stormwater to waste collection to lighting and the like. And then you even have about 14 odd systems that are just processing, collecting, and managing that data. But to really have a central view to something like this, be able to see how you're performing, how you want to be efficient, and what you can do better going forward, you really need to be able to, once again, piece this together in an intelligent manner and run various models of intelligence on it. Yeah, so this is what the city's architecture looked like. I'm sorry again that it's just not easy to read, but on the left there are a lot of different systems from which all this information is being collected. There is, I think, at least 10 different communication protocols itself, and then you're sort of trying to aggregate that entire data at one place and make some sense out of that, right? So this is in no sense an easy job, right? We are talking just terabytes of data to begin with at the very early phase with just even a few systems, and then it gets to petabytes of data very, very quickly. So trying to build a system to match this is something that's not even a realistic thing to think of. You also have to think through all the complexities that exist, but also what will come through with time.
Just 3 minutes, please.
Sure. So you're working with massive amounts of data already, volumes, which will then grow further. You have data from multiple different systems coming through various different protocols. You have inconsistencies with data, quality issues. You have a regular need to do some cleaning and transforming of this data, so it's at least useful in some way. Otherwise, it's largely garbage if you just aggregate it together. You then need to run vast amounts of mathematical computation, real-time batch, and everything in parallel, and to make some sense out of it. And then you have your growing demands from your data consumers and stakeholders, right? What this really boils down to is a very, very reliable and robust compute and technology infrastructure, and very importantly, a significantly high cost of data compute, right? So there is the problem of putting all these technologies together in a manner that they work, and also seriously optimizing that cost that doesn't exceed your budgets, which is very often the case in programs of this nature. And what I believe is, if you were to manage a subset of these, I think a bunch of industry available tools and technologies can help you. But if you're really trying to do something of this magnitude and all together, and at a cost that is going to be acceptable to you in the future, you want to think of a platform like ours. We are able to bring you the cost optimizations that you really want. I don't have slides on defense, but I will touch upon, because Lieutenant General Kapoor touched upon a few things. We are sort of part of a government challenge for the government of India to build multi-platform, multi-sensor, multi-system data fusion for space intelligence, right? There is something that even I have my head spin to put my thoughts together, because we are talking about not just different kinds of system or data, but also to normalize that together, because you now are viewing a spatial object from so many different places that you must make sure that what we are viewing is consistent with all the information that you have. And then you can sort of really use that to do intelligence for your space agencies and the like, right? And I think the European systems and others that are available are exceedingly expensive, so the government is looking for indigenization in this area. And there are similar other initiatives in both maritime as well as wind and gale and thunderstorm prediction that we are looking to be part of. So thank you for your time, and should anyone have an interest in reaching out to me, here's my information. Cheers.
Thank you, Kumar. I think passion often beats time, and when you give 10 minutes, it's rather short for a subject which is so profound. And I've been engaging with Kumar. He's a profound technologist and a great professional. Thank you for this piece. May I now invite Mr. Kiran Zakaria from the US. He's the global head for Secterio, which is a great cyber company, and an engineer at heart. Without much ado, I'll request you to talk about cyber and AI, which is his huge forte. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished panelists, and ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, the folks who are from the defense services, thank you so much for your service. Right. I'd like to start about Secterio. Quickly about what we do, but more importantly, some insights of how we do it and what we are seeing in the world right now. Secterio is actually a division of a larger company called Subex. Subex is one of the first Indian product companies to come out of Bangalore. We've been focused on fraud and revenue assurance. I have not worked in any other company other than Subex. It's been 25 years over there. And we incubated and grew Secterio out of Subex about 7 years back. Our focus is cybersecurity, but a very niche part of cybersecurity, and we look at something called operational technology cybersecurity. Operational technology is all the technology that you don't actually see, but creates things for you. We're talking of plants, your electric grids, water pipelines, all of that actually keeps life going. From manufacturing to defense to aerospace to maritime, we are there in almost every sector today. I'm very proud of it. One of the key things that differentiates us in this space is the fact that we run one of the world's largest OT and IoT honeypots. So for the uninitiated, honeypot is basically we set devices that look like plants or defense infrastructure out and wait for hackers to come, lure them into that and see what they do, how they're trying to attack, what are their intent, and what are their current techniques and procedures that they're using. So we keep track of this. We share quite a lot of this enterprise from an enterprise perspective, free online to anyone who wants to download this information and use it in their space. But very specifically, when it comes to geopolitical scenarios, we have specific feeds that we share with intelligence services and across different countries. So we work largely in the United States, India, and the Middle East. Those are our key. When I say United States, I say Americas, because South America is also part of our global footprint. Our offices, because we come from a storied company which is over 25 years, we have offices in Denver, London, Dubai, and Singapore, and Bangalore. Bangalore is our headquarters, but we're not very far from Utah, Denver, a couple of, I would say 6 hours, 7 hours, if you're fast enough to get to SLC. We've done that trip quite a few times, and I'm actually based out of Dallas. So we have a very unique approach. When we started, we were competing as an Indian company. and as a part of a listed company, we were disadvantaged in many ways, fundamentally because lack of capital was a very substantial issue. I could not go out and do a VC fund or a PE fund because you're part of a listed company. There are structures and procedures inside as part of the Indian regulations that prevents you from doing it. So we had to be very bootstrapped and organic, and we had to build a long-term view of where we want to go, right? And how we were going to get to being number one in our space that we want. We're not there as yet, but we're getting there. So we were competing with well-funded American and Israeli organizations globally. To the tune of $700 to $800 million of funding against maybe a bootstrap company. Me and Pride still laugh about it. The whole funding that we had was $700,000. And we had to build out of that space over a period of time, grow organically, and grow sustainably. I cannot have a negative balance sheet in any way because, we're listed. Everyone keeps an eye on us. So we've grown over the last 7 years largely by creating a moat. One thing that we realized very quickly is this battle will not be won by technology, right? Tomorrow, anyone and everyone, if you look at technology at the end of the day, they all plateau out and they all start looking, even competing products start looking like each other over a period of time. You have very minimal differences here and there. It becomes a choice of, preference for the user more than anything else. So we clearly identified that the moat that we have to build is talent. And today, India has India has 500,000 or 5 lakh in Indian terms, 500,000 cybersecurity jobs going unfulfilled, sorry. And over a period of time, of that 500 or 1,000 jobs, 25% will be focused on OT cybersecurity, which is our space. So very just to touch on OT cybersecurity, you have cybersecurity, which is focused on, IT is largely focused on data loss, data privacy, data, confidentiality, and things like that. Data is important, but things that run your plant, run your household, run your electricity lines, they are the ones that actually get attacked in terms of conflict, not your data. Data is, at the end of the day, replaceable, backups, you have different policies. But if I bring down a power plant, and that has happened in India and in the United States quite a few times by adversaries that are common to both of us, and we keep track of that, you turn off the power line, you have a supply chain issue. And protecting you from that attack is not a data issue, but an availability issue. You're basically trying to keep your infrastructure, your supply chains available. And so it's a very different paradigm. Systems are very different. They don't even look like any of our systems that you will work. So you're talking of things like PLCs, programmable logic controllers, sensors, actuators, robots, things that actually do work. Very similar, not that I'm saying the computers don't do work, but very different to what you normally see. And our focus has been there. And this space is a very difficult space because you have this whole focus on IT cybersecurity, and you have OT engineers who've been running these plants, and there's a bridge that needs to be made between these OT engineers who are not cybersecurity trained and knowing OT cybersecurity engineers who have to know the OT systems, which are very different from what you actually see in a computer. So we in that 5-year, 6-year plan that we had, we invested substantially on research, right? Honeypot was one of our major research areas. The second most important area was our collaboration with multiple universities globally. So today we collaborate with universities in Singapore. NTU is one of our largest collaborators. In India, we have 4 universities, Middle East, and in the United States, we work with universities. So when I was speaking to Aaron, and Aaron told me, hey, let's do something in Utah together, the first thing I asked him is, get me into a university, because we work from there. We try to choke off or get into the supply chain of talent and use that talent in our organization. We're the largest OT cybersecurity organization globally. This has held us in good stead. We've grown over 1,000% year on year this year, continue to grow very fast. And this has been a strategy that we've used. India has that talent, right? US has that talent, and the research that we've been collaborating across the world is helping us get to where we are. Not only from a differentiation perspective, but also the perspective that being part of that supply chain of talent, being able to influence the actual curriculum around cybersecurity in some of the programs gives us, the ability to tap into that and grow faster than anyone else in our market. So what are we doing, right? Who are we seeing? Obviously, we have shared adversaries, both the United States and India. There's a lot of focus on what you call cyber espionage, IP protection, intellectual property protection, and things like that, right? What is actually not as much in focus has been the fact that supply chain disruption. There is a very famous rhyme in the United States and in India too, we've been taught, for a want of a nail, the battle was lost. And that has been the strategy that most of our adversaries today have been working on. They lie dormant as part of your supply chain. So if there is a specific piece of equipment that is being made here, it's not necessarily that equipment that is attacked or that manufacturer that's attacked, but the supply chain that delivers some of the key components making that equipment is the one that is attacked. So you have large organizations able to spend a lot of money securing their frontier, but they're also dependent on SMEs, MSMEs, who are delivering, who are creating stuff, creating things or widgets that they're using. And unfortunately, that part has not been covered, neither in the United States in terms of regulation, nor in India, right? But if you look at another geography where they're making substantial progress is Europe. If you look at, they're rolling out something called NIS2 that basically requires that every organization secures all of their supply chain end to end. And that is something that we need to look at, and for us, a growing market. So, state-sponsored attacks, my distinguished panelist also mentioned that we've had a specific growth in cybersecurity attacks, ransomware as a service and things like that. But you can't actually, as an organization, ever beat a state. The kind of money that they can spend, the type of infrastructure that they have, and the type of resources that they put behind targeting specific infrastructure is not something that most organizations can thwart. So you need a very different paradigm. And in India, we've seen almost doubling, close to 1 billion cyber attacks recently, right? So most of this today, the defense is throwing technology at the problem, and unfortunately that does not solve the issue. Processes, people, and technology actually need to blend together. So you need to, one of the biggest problems that we face in our critical infrastructure is if you walk into any of our substations today, even in India, and we actually secure quite a few of them here, you ask them what equipment do they have, most of them don't know what they have. Equipment that's been there, and as my panelist said, legacy equipment that has been retrofitted with some new technology to bring them up to speed, but they don't know what's running there. So first is identifying what you have, and this is not very different in India and the United States. We also work in the United States on water lines and smart cities in the United States, and the same thing we find, that the awareness of what they have and what vulnerabilities they have is almost negligible. Once you find out what your attack surface is, you reduce your attack surface, make sure that people cannot get to that attack surface, and then you have controls and measures, and then you have the need to constantly monitor. This is what Secure does, essentially globally across the world, and what we are today focused on. So I know that defense is a key area here, and for us, our specific area, this is some of our things that we do, you can read that, but the point that I want to leave behind is, when you look at defense, defense as a sector is always an area that is separate from enterprise, managed differently. You can't enter that space without, the right people guiding you in. We have, as a company, grown out of India, and we take a frontal view on defense. We work with some of the intelligence services, but unfortunately, Indian defense or the United States defense is closed off today, right? It's been extremely difficult to work with, and this is just a call out to all the folks over here. And if we are accepted by the world's best enterprises, Make in India company, a true Make in India company, not the one that is badged as Make in India, well, everything else is getting done somewhere else. It's been extremely difficult for us to actually make any inroads here in the space. And it's not that you'll have better technology. the truth is, I'm not competing with better technology. I'm not competing with better abilities, capabilities that you'll have, right? But it is extreme, the amount of red tape and things that we have to do to actually make an entry is very difficult. So as an Indian company, today 85% of our revenue comes from abroad, right? We do not sell as much unless an Indian company calls us and says, do business with us, we don't come. So this is something that I want to leave behind with you. Thank you.
Roshan Srivastav. He is the project director for Technology Innovation Hub at IIT Tirupati. He was to come online, but there are some glitches. I'll step in for him being a board member. And a word about these technology innovation hubs. Basically, a resurgent India with Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, and Startup India missions, along with Skill India missions, Digital India missions, and so many others, have actually put together in the academia a framework for 4 things. The first is skill development, as to let us develop skills bottom up, right from schools through to all academia institutions, the higher education institutions. So that is the first focus of technology innovation hubs. The second focus is to look at those with entrepreneurial spirit at whatever age and create startups, or help create startups and manage startups right from incubation through to acceleration. The third is research and development in niche areas. Now, IIT Tirupati is the hub for precision and positioning technologies. And for the audience here, there's nothing without precision and positioning today. I mean, automation, autonomy, artificial intelligence, and whatever talks we do is all based on precision in terms of quality and position in terms of precision also. So really speaking, it's a huge framework, and a lot of research and development is to happen in this. We have, as an example, our own GNSS, the Global Navigation Satellite System, NAVIC. And today, we are looking at a resilient PNT. And even the US with GPS is really trying to configure a assured and resilient PNT. We've had two cyber talks to tell us what are the vulnerabilities of a system, a satellite system. It is the ground system. And if your ground system is not secure, it's no good. And I mean, you could see the number of cyber attacks that happen globally to make diffuse these systems in this environment. And therefore, as you get dependent on a GNSS, you have to look at resilient GNSS, resilient PNT, and so that is one very big focus among so many others. We're looking at precision agriculture, you name it. We are looking at sustainment development goals, smart cities. Everything is about precision and positioning technologies. And the fourth is international cooperation, and that is why, and that is where WTC Utah is indeed the first in the block where we are talking about this. I'm sure we've had some interaction with the academia teams which came up from Utah as well. But I think this is a great opportunity, and we would request you to engage with the IITs and the technology innovation hubs. And for sure, I would definitely love to put you through with them, because each technology innovation hub, each center of excellence has their unique abilities, capabilities, and capacities that they bring on the table, which can create a huge collaboration, connect, and contribution, what we've been talking about. And so this is the Technology Innovation Hub. We have with us Colonel Whelan. He's a big name in GNSS today globally, and humble in look, but hugely cerebral in technology. I'll now invite him to just cover. He's our advisor in the Technology Innovation Hub at Tirupati on precision and positioning technologies. I'll request you that in just about 5 minutes, if you can portray what you bring on the table in a Technology Innovation Hub, which is also available to Utah. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. I am Senior Advisor for Development of PNT at IIT Tirupati. See, what this technology, the way the general has told, is very important for not only for India, for world over. It's very important technology. What do you do when GPS is denied or blocked to you by jamming or by spoofing or by other means? It's a big topic today with NASA and people in US itself. So Government of India has worked on it for last about 1.5 decades. I've been part of the mission to give us work when there is no GPS. Today, that's what we have. I am part of the academia. I am part of the industrial bodies. I am also having my own company which is making solutions in this direction. So we are pioneers in GPS denied environment, giving you all types of hardware and software. And this is what is of very much importance in this part of the world. Because there already GPS, which is best suited for American developed countries, is not all that suitable for developing countries area, from Africa to Australia and all that. Government of India has realized it and is pushing this as an important tool of collaboration. That's where Utah can benefit from. When you come to this part of the world, we are there to give a solution. We are here to give a solution for you in your place, in your country also. That's what we bring in. And I, being part of this mission, have got reach at the government, at the academia, and the industrial bodies, international industrial bodies like RTCM, which looks at the standards. We are working with them to help them in certain technologies, multi-GNSS, resilient positioning, and quantum positioning is a new area being thought about. So we are all working in this domain to bring you solution. I request that you should come over to IIT Tirupati and see the way we are bringing up this institution, which will be a single point contact for all people working in this domain world over. The Government of India is pumping in huge amount of money. All our fresh buildings have come up. We need to staff them and bring them up. And we have what is a huge test bed that is coming up in this place. So you're talking about 5G and 6G. So far up to 4G, we are not talking about positioning. In 5.5G onwards, they're insisting positioning of this many meters has to be there. In case of 6G, since IoT devices have to come, about 100,000 have to be there within a square kilometer. They're insisting on a positional accuracy of 10 to 30 centimeters. It's now recorded. How do we give it? And what happens if GPS is denied there? All your systems will fail. So that's what is the solution that we are working in. Luckily, our company is able to give you some solution to that. And yeah, this domain is a new domain, and a lot of R&D activities are taking place. That's where IIT Tirupati is coming into place. And I thank this opportunity and request you all, we can interact. I have some equipment to show to you also. We can interact later. Thank you, sir.
Great. Very, very professionally invigorating when you start thinking about 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and now 6G. I think at IIT we see these reverberations, but more of it when you visit them or we get an opportunity to talk about them. I'll now request Colonel Selva. He is the CEO of Bridge Bharat, which is actually creating the bridge between startups on one end, academia on one end, and industry. So that's the triangle that they're trying to resolve. I'll request in 10 minutes, please establish the bridge. I know the biggest challenge lies with you. He's been a colleague. We work together, and we have General Krishnan sitting here. He was my co-commander, and he was with me as well. So this is the triad which is here, which he'll come and bridge as well. There's a physical bridge, and there's a bridge that he'll do. Over to you, Selva.
Thank you, Chair, fellow panelists, dignitaries. Good afternoon to everybody. As luck could have it, I have a time when lunch looks more appealing than what I made a talk. Okay. Nevertheless, I'll try and quickly cover what has been talked about. General Kapoor started saying that one of the requirements was start with the end in mind. Me being the last speaker, probably he had me in his mind. So we are talking on a topic which is deliverables to delivery. Our focus is exactly that, wherein we have the technology, we have the people who do it, we have the requirements with the defense, but then all these dots need to be connected so that we get a product as per the requirement and it is integrated, and the product is delivered and utilized. So this on-ground connectivity, that is ground level connectivity, is what we are doing, and I'll be giving a little more details subsequently. Organization is called as Bridge Bharat Council for Promotion of Innovation, Research and Entrepreneurship. I'm Colonel Selva Kumar. Oops. Any other alternatives to this, please?
You have to point it that side.
There. Okay.
It's changed.
Right.
Or if you can just change slide.
Okay, right, I'll do that. What? Did I miss a slide? Okay. Bridge Bharat Council, just to briefly summarize, is an action-oriented think tank. We are registered as a Section 8 company. In fact, Bridge is just an acronym, bridging researchers, innovators in industries, the institutes, and D for defense, G for governance, or E for the entrepreneurship. So when we put all this, that's what we get, a bridge. That is what we do. And we are strengthened by the senior military veterans, academia, scientists, innovators, and industrialists. We have our own association with the various bodies of defense, industries, and academia, so that we can put them together. Change slides, please. Okay. We bridge the gap between the stakeholders for promotion of Atmanirbhar Bharat, providing technology to solutions. Okay. We are coordinating with the startups. Like we have created an ecosystem right now that we have the startups, the industries, the academia, all of them with us, and the defense. Now, the veterans come in hand, especially for the defense, wherein we are putting, cementing all these things together. The bridge is strengthened, and we are able to promote what we are calling as collaborative R&D and coordinated manufacturing through this. So this has been very powerful. I'll be showing a few samples subsequently. We got a few recognitions as per what we have been doing. We were awarded by Minister of State Defense on 5th of September for our contribution towards Make in India, and also for what we have contributed to create an ecosystem for using military veterans in the aerospace and defense as domain experts. He appreciated our unique concept of collaborative R&D and coordinated manufacturing, and he had acknowledged it as the way forward for achieving self-reliance in India. We also got the recognitions from the senior officials. The principal advisor to MOD has endorsed. He's accepted our concept. He's recommended to all the chiefs that they should get in alignment with us so that the solutions can flow through. And I'm thankful to all the senior officers who have been with me, who are giving the strength for what we're doing. Next slide, please. We have domain experts, that is the team, like military veterans. We have the scientists and technical experts from the various DRDOs, that is Defense Research and Development Organization, Defense PSUs, ordnance factories, quality assurance experts, the technocrats from industries, and professors and research fellows. This is, they all come together. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. These are some of the academia I'm showing. We have about 8 large private universities, 3 IITs we are working with currently, and about 40 colleges and engineering colleges who are associated with us for the R&D part. We have the industries, we have all the industrial bodies are with us, and right now, and we have about roughly about 400 industries to include about 39 startups whom we are mentoring, and we have roughly about, closer to 400 small to very large MSMEs. Our strength is actually the networking that we have created with the veterans and professionals. We have the military operations in industry and R&D. I'll just take 30 seconds to bring in the relevance of veterans in this. One of the days I was giving a lecture to a forum containing the academia, industries, and the defense officials were explaining the various requirements in defense. So I was talking about the battle tanks. So I was saying that tanks require a lot of new technologies coming in. Things have moved up. We need rubberized tracks, all those things. So I was talking, as I was talking, I saw one or two audiences just giving blank looks and staring through my eyes. So I just stopped, paused and asked them, have you been able to understand what I'm saying? The response I got is that he said, I could perfectly understand whatever you've been saying, but I'm wondering why you are trying to fit all these things in an overhead tank. So the tank has not been perceived because they couldn't understand. Now, if they couldn't understand what the equipment we're talking about, they will not be able to produce a solution, but they may be the best of the researchers, they may be the best of the industries. So that's where the veterans come in to align them with the requirements. Okay. These are the activities wherein we bring in awareness. I'll skip these slides. Next, please. Collaborative R&D and coordinated manufacturing. I'll dwell a little bit. Please, one click. Defense has got a lot of requirements. They have they are the end users. They generate the requirements, and till now, India has been relying only on the DRDOs and the defense PSUs. Suddenly, the requirement has been put open to the PPP model, wherein a lot of people have come in. We need more people, and we need more people to be made aware of. Click, please. Defense PSUs, they have their own capacities that are, as we are interacting nowadays, that we find that a lot of new technologies and talents have come in. The defense PSUs are not keeping up, so they had been trying. And next, please. So next. So that is where we get the private industries along to support the defense as well as the defense PSUs. Next. Please just click it till the end of the slide. So, and the academia. So this whole thing we've been trying to put them all together, and we are acting as the external coordinating agency. Bridgewater sits there, where we have created the ecosystem, like I said, about with the academia, IITs, the private universities, the colleges, young minds, and the industries, small startups to very large industries, so that we can create a consortium of a group of academia and industry, so that we can get a product. Next, please. This is one of the models. Yes, sir, do that. This one model where we capture what has been requested from the defense, and we go out achieving the product through the process. Next one. This is the other way around, where we find talent amongst the academia and the startups, where we're interacting. We look for the use case in defense, and we get it converted or suitably modified, take it up with the defense officials, and get it converted into greenfield projects. Next. These are the value additions. Probably we understand the problem, define it, we work around creating the solutions, we develop the concepts, and especially the critical to quality points like I just mentioned some time ago. Unless what is CTQ, critical to quality, is not understood, the product doesn't come out the way we want it. The product realization, proof of concept. So we go through the complete activities and help. So I'm proud to say we are probably the only one agency in India who's doing this ground level connectivity and hand-holding the industries as well as the academia, right from scratch till the product is supplied, or rather delivered to the end users. Right. Thank you. Next. These are some of the projects that we have just come up with. These are IDDM for the benefit of others. It is the indigenously designed, developed, and manufactured product. Besides this, we have, like General was mentioning about evolutionary and revolutionary. We are very active and converting a lot of the evolutionary developments, because we capture the RFPs and other things, we convert them. We must have done more than hundreds of projects in that manner. And as well as the revolutionary, where we brought in a new concept out of nowhere, are the ones I'm highlighting here. Next slide, please. This is POEMS, it's an acronym, is a missile simulator which was done for shoulder-fired IGLA missiles. This is actually a training simulator. We have not been having a training simulator for a long time because of the OEM was not supplying. We had a difficulty in training the operators. This is used for shooting down the enemy aircrafts as a manual fire. Very brief time, about less than 30 seconds, within which he has to identify the target, shoot it, and destroy. This is not possible. 30 seconds, I'll done. Next. Next, please. So, this is the automation of proof firing ranges. We have done for 3 different long-range firing ranges. And I believe there are some more activities that are happening in the remaining firing ranges. So this, we have utilized all the technologies that are there, including sorry, can I, 30. So this has like every technology that you can think of: IoT, communication, GPS, NAVIC, precision guidance, and real-time monitoring of where what are the performance of the equipment. Everything is recorded, printed, and one-time shot with no chance for modifying the results. So this has come up. Prior to this, we had a completely manual model which had no authenticity to it. Next. This is a similar one which is currently being done for DRDO. This is the first time we are doing it across waters. So, next please. This is a solar-powered remote control e-vehicle that has been built from scratch. It can be driven by a driver, it can be remotely controlled, also it can be autonomous. So this, with a carrying capacity of about 500 kg, was made for a project, but then it is taking various avatars into various roles. Next, please. Next, please. So, okay, I'll skip this, please. Move on, please. Next, next. 4 things of this thing, you can just, where we are trying to focus. Next. Next. Next, please. Oh, sorry, just go back one slide. As an outtake from today, I'm looking, we already are strategic partners with the IIRF. Now we want to take it forward further. And we want to function as a single point of contact for taking the collaborations forward. We have already created this ecosystem within India, very successful model. And we would like to extend it to the further collaboration that we are moving on so that we implement it on ground. Right? And we want to bridge the authorities of WTC UTA and the Indian stakeholders and manage the projects and follow through. So this ground connect is something we are capable with our large team and team of experts that we have. So that's for considerations. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Very short. Conveyed as being a hub, to create the hub, I think that's well received. Before we move for lunch, just one appetizer. We have Vish with us. He's from Forge Innovation, and the bridge that he's talked of, they are also into a lot of innovation, and they bring to the table a lot of startups and others whom they groom from incubation to acceleration right through till they become MSMEs. Vish, time is at a premium. Just enough for a soup. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I am in a soup, and I am the soup. General Khandare, during his address, was kind enough to mention me, but I was outside the hall. I couldn't be here when he said it. My name is Vish Sahasranamam. I am the co-founder and CEO of Forge Innovation and Ventures. We are an incubator, but what we really are is a lot more than that. We're a vertically integrated enterprise. We go all the way from technology innovation labs, startup incubation, product acceleration, venture acceleration, and all the way to seed investments. I had the privilege of my lifetime to work with Dr. Ajay Kumar to set up and build and scale and operate IDEX. I did that, of course, through my company, Forge Innovation and Ventures, as an organizational partner, as well as at my individual capacity. We started the whole IDEX with the simple premise: can we get the best of Indian tech startups' innovation capacity? Now, what's so phenomenal about startup innovation is, one, it's low cost. The cost of innovation of a bigger company, the overheads of innovation of a bigger company is more than the direct cost of startup innovation. So you have the cost advantage. Second, you have the frugality, which is not just the cost in terms of the actual terms, but how much more can you get for very less. And then you add that with the speed, the agility, and then the ingenuity. Now, bigger companies have everything else. So your manufacturing capabilities, your engineering aggregation, systems integration, your install bases, those are your advantages. If we can put these two things together, so the one from the startup and the one from the bigger company should be level. So that's the premise with which we started. Now today, we're about 600, 650 startups in the country that are working with a defense-first approach to building and scaling the technology enterprises. These are hardware-focused startups that leverage technologies in software as well as in AI to be able to bring advanced capabilities to India's defense and, of course, to overseas military customers as well. Now, what I've realized in the last 4.5, 5 years of doing this, right, and I actively carry about 60 defense and national security strategic sector startups in my portfolio, and what I've seen is this. Innovation happens at the component level. Procurement happens at the product, platform, system, equipment level. Now, what goes in between is engineering aggregation, systems integration, industrial scale, high volume production. Now, if you don't bridge these two things through these three stages, milestones, we're going to see very little of the throughput that comes from startup innovation go all the way to becoming deployed and scaled up for adoption and for operation within the military. And that is where I think the opportunity for forums like this to bring the bigger companies to work with startups is of immense importance. Now, we've been trying to do this through multiple ways. One, can we have the Tata Advanced Systems of the world, the L&Ts, the Bharat Forges to actually work with startups so they can actually look at startups as potential innovation and product partners. right? Now, there's only so much direct procurement that can happen at the level of these component innovations directly out of, say, DIO or IDEX. But a lot more can happen if we can actually funnel the startup innovation pipeline through the DPSU. So if you can get the HALs and the BELs of the country to actually buy directly from startups through the engineering aggregation, systems integration, and scaled up volume production, I think we will see a lot more throughput. I will leave it with that as a humble idea, suggestion, request, and thanks to General Kapoor and all of you for the patient hearing. Well, the soup was served. Thank you.
Thank you, Vish. I think I do apology to the complete audience for overshooting time like anything. But like I said, passion eats time. And especially when you're before lunch, it takes a little more than that. That said, I think every end is a new beginning. I'll thank all my fellow panelists for, controlling their adrenaline flow and trying to be as time sensitive as they could be. I'm sure they couldn't have done it better than what they did, and conveying a lot of material. So this end of the seminar is beginning of a new avenue in terms of collaboration, in terms of connect, and in terms of taking things forward from here. With this, I'll thank IIRF, Guru and the team, President Brigadier Sandeep and others, for giving us this opportunity together to share ICET opportunities from deliverables to deliveries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, Chair General Kapoor and all panelists. Now invite our President Brigadier Sandeep to please come to the stage, sir, and give away the gifts to the panelists. Thank you, sir. First, General Kapoor, sir, our IIRF advisor and session chair.
Thank you, sir.
Next, Major General Ravi Murugan. Sir. Mr. Zakaria. Mr. Gangwani. Mr. Bhanu Pratap Singh. Colonel N. Selvakumar. Thank you very much, Sir President, for presenting the ties to the gifts. Would all the panelists and